movie came out about you called Kiss and Tell, which I was one of the producers of. You were unhappy about the movie. What was your biggest issue with the movie?
Well, Vlad.
Karrine?
When you guys interviewed me, it was supposed to be for Russell Simmons, true?
That was originally what we used it for, correct?
For Global Grind or something, right? Or something?
It wasn't Global Grind. It was for Hip Hop On Demand.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
But that's not where it ended up.
Well, it was broadcast on that.
Okay. And then you used it for this thing.
Right. As well as our first interview as well.
Okay, great. Didn't know that this thing existed. No one mentioned anything to me, didn't know it existed. So you have an interview from me that I was told was to be used for one thing, and it ends up being used for another.
Correct.
Okay. My husband was with me when I interviewed. He was in the room. Okay. Then you guys interviewed him separately, and he gave his scathing interview, and then came back home to my house, ate up my food, drove my Mercedes.
So he was still with you when he did those interviews?
Yes!
Aha, okay. I wasn't aware of that.
Yes!
Well, I was a producer on that. I wasn't the actual director.
The man had gotten kicked out the house for 2 days, probably for doing something he shouldn't have done.
Okay.
Okay, went and did that, came back into the house, and never mentioned a word. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. So now what? However long goes past, a year, whatever. Here's this unauthorized and by the way, you guys interviewed people that I don't even know. People I'd never even met, or if I met them once, never saw them again. People I can give you a list of people I know. And you can go talk to them about me all day. But you got a bunch of scallywags that don't even know me. Somebody I might have high-fived at a party. I don't know who this person is.
Okay.
Okay? So I'm looking at, first of all, I can't even watch it. And it was just bullshit. It was just absolute fucking bullshit. And then I'm sitting next to my husband, okay, and it comes on, and I'm looking at him like...
Wait, so you guys were actually hanging out when he came on TV?
We were married and living, like any normal married couple, we're together. I hear that this thing's coming on, okay?
Oh, so you knew about it before it actually came on?
Someone told me.
Right, it was on Showtime, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. So I click it on. Here's this jerk face doing this interview. I'm looking at him like, are you comfortable? Do you need something to eat? Huh? Which car do you want to drive today, sweetie? The SL, the E, the Range? What do you want to drive? Because you're sitting here eating up my shit and driving my cars, and I'm taking care of your son, and I'm paying for everything, and look who's saying that I am a leech and whatever else he said.
He said you were a bad mother.
I'm a bad mother. Meanwhile, he just lost custody of his son. I still have mine. Okay? So at the end of the day, it was bullshit, and it was produced by people who, including you, are full of shit.
Okay.
You guys, it was just bad. It was just bad, but it's all good. It's all good. I didn't raise a stink about it because it was already done. It's done and it's done. And that's what's up. And you move on.
You know, and this is information I got from, someone involved in the actual project as well. And I had heard that after Darius McCrary did the interview, he actually wanted to go back and tell us not to use it, but by that time it was already shot, and all the release forms have been signed and so forth. But yeah. That's what I heard. Yeah,
he because he was still living with me. We were married, and from what I understand, he did it during a time he had done that to me a couple of times, where there'd be interviews, I'd kick him out because that's what happens when you act up, and it's my house. And then he'd go do something scathing and then come back and not say anything to me. And then I've had magazines call me and say, so do you want to give a statement to what your husband said? I'm like, what? And meanwhile, he's eating up all the chicken and driving the Benz, child. Anyway.
Yeah, I think he called you a scorpion.
Really?
Do you remember that part?
Listen, you don't remember anything.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that I'm not a Scorpion.
Well, he did the story about the frog and scorpion story.
Oh, but he's the frog?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess you know what I'm talking about.
No, I don't even want to know. Listen,
Okay. All right, fair enough.
I'm not going to say I'm not a Scorpion. I'm not going to say that I don't sting
Right.
when I feel threat. I'm not going to say that.
Well, no. The story is that it's a story I've heard for a long time.
Okay.
It's basically like a scorpion goes up to a frog and says, "Hey, let me get on your back and take me across the river so we can both get across." And the frog says, "Well, I'm not going to do that. You're just going to sting me while I'm taking you across the river." He goes, "That'd be stupid. Why would I sting you? Then we're both going to die." And the frog goes, "Okay, that's a good point. Let's go." So they go. They're going down the river, and the scorpion stings the frog, and the frog says, "Why'd you do that? We're both going to die." He goes, "Well, I'm a scorpion. What do you expect?"
Yeah, no.
And I guess you were the scorpion in that.
Yeah.
Basically saying, I knew she was like this before I got with her, and I shouldn't be surprised.
But he spent all my money and stole my cars and beat me. And I carried him across the fucking river. That's it. I didn't do anything to him. And now, that's the way the story goes, though. Abusers like to point the finger at the victim so that no one's looking at them. And that's why Vindicated was so important to me, because like many abuse survivors, we never get a chance to tell our story. I just happen to have a very loud voice, so I can actually tell my story and solidify that with paperwork and facts and court dates and all these. I mean, this is a stack of papers this high, you know what I mean? And have attorneys go through everything and vet everything and make sure everything matches up. And so now I get to actually tell the truth, about what was really happening there. I took care of someone who abused all that I gave him and his child, which he stole, So like, there's a lot of things that I could have said at the time. And if you go back, I wasn't saying hardly anything because I was still in it. But the whole time he was with me, he was constantly berating me publicly and then coming home and beating me. So I had nowhere to go. Nobody would believe me. Nobody would help me, because here's this man saying, I'm horrible. Karrine's so bad, then comes home and beats Karrine. And then so who's going to believe Karrine when she says my husband's beating me? Who's going to believe her? That's what abusers do. My mother used to go to school and tell them I was on crack. Crack. I was 12. She literally told them I was on crack. So that when I went to them and said my mother's beating me, they looked at me and said, you're on crack, so you're lying.
We don't believe you.
We don't believe you. It's the same exact thing. So I dealt with that for all those years and couldn't say anything to anyone, because everywhere this man, and this is the thing, why was he with me for so long if I was so bad?
Well, I mean, he could say the same thing, right? Why were you with him for so long if he was so bad?
That man came to my house. That man jumped over my gate. That man stood outside my door. He never had a place to live, so I couldn't chase him and go find him and go, none of that. I never, ever went looking. Once he left, I never went looking for him. I would move on, have other relationships, and then he'd come back because he'd see me happy somewhere, just like he tried to do in 2013. So when it's done, it's done. I never tried to go back. But he would always, and I was just so weak. I never got a chance to heal, and be okay. So the last time he tried to come back, I had already healed. I'm good. And the old person doesn't exist.
Right.
And
the book ended with him trying to come back and you saying, I'm good. I don't want to revisit this. And that was the end of the book.
Yeah, and that was the end, because that was the end of that chapter of my life. And it took me all those years, to be okay with not being abused. Because it wasn't even about him. It was just about my language and being able to change that language, and I'm not okay with being abused in any way, shape, or form. Don't lie to me. Don't cheat on me. Don't hit me. Don't look at me crazy. Don't even roll your eyes. I'm not okay with any of that. And I'm not okay. And it took me a lot to change it took a lot for me to change my rhetoric, my internal rhetoric. And he My ex-husband came back at the end of 2013, right before Christmas, thinking that I was the same person, and he was saying the exact same things he'd always said, because his rhetoric hadn't changed, but mine had. And so I wasn't interested. Never be interested again. Not in him or not in anyone else who treats me anything less than wonderfully.